to the Capitol. The delegate from Norfolk, Delegate Jones.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise today to highlight 17 unsung heroes in my local community of Norfolk. Geraldine Talley Hobby, Lewis Cousins, Betty Jean Reed, Lolita Young, Lavera Forbes, James Turner Jr., Patricia Turner, Edward Jordan, Claudia Wellington, Andrew Heidelberg, Alvarez Frederick Gonsoland, Dolores Johnson Brown, Johnny Rouse, Olivia Driver Lindsay, Carol Wellington, and Patricia Godbolt. Now, these names are probably unfamiliar to most of the people in this body, but in honor of Black History Month, I'd like to take a few minutes to pay tribute to the Norfolk 17. This story starts with just a brief bit of background. By the summer of 1958, Norfolk was still ignoring the Supreme Court of the United States' landmark decision in Brown versus Board of Education. Norfolk continued to maintain all white schools and all black schools. That summer, United States District Court Judge Walter E. Hoffman ruled that black students had to attend the city's all-white schools. This decision, among other things, led Virginia's ruling class to devise the now infamous strategy that was designed to undermine the federal government's ruling in Brown. That strategy was called massive resistance. Norfolk's opposition was spearheaded by Mayor Kevin Duckworth, and he was supported in his mission by Governor J. Lindsey Almond and United States Senator Harry F. Byrd, the latter of whom has a statue just a few football fields from where we now gather. Pursuant to that court order, black students applied for admission to the schools in Norfolk, but admission to the schools was neither easy nor smooth. Originally, 151 black students applied to attend Norfolk schools in the summer of 1958. In staunch opposition to the integration, the school board opted to reduce that number by interviewing the black students to determine if they were qualified to be in a white school, armed with loaded questions like, what experience do you have with white kids, and have you ever been in trouble? Unsurprisingly, the school board flunked them all. Judge Hoffman intervened as he failed to believe that there was not a single qualified applicant among the 151, and he insisted that some be admitted. Anticipating the integration order from Judge Hoffman, Governor Almond and Senator Byrd and their allies responded by passing a state law mandating that any school in Virginia would automatically close if forced to integrate by the federal government. And so, Norfolk became one of a half a dozen communities affected and traumatized by a protracted school closing. Charlottesville and Warren County were also affected. On September 29, 1958, 6 of Norfolk's formerly all-white schools were closed to avoid integration. More than 9,000 white students were also kept from school, and the members of the Norfolk 17 were targets of intense criticism and public scrutiny for causing all this trouble in our schools. Still, they shared the white students' locked-out status, and they attended school at Butte Street Baptist Church during the winter of 1958. On January 19, 1959, the Virginia Supreme Court and the Federal District Court declared that the school closings were indeed unconstitutional. Eventually, Norfolk succumbed to pressure from the Navy and its business community, and the segregationist school board relented, finally admitting the 17 students whose names I've listed earlier into 6 high schools and middle schools on February 2, 1959. Attending school was no cakewalk. Andrew Heidelberg, one of our brave angels, later recalled a story in an interview about his experience. One day, he was puzzled by some strange behavior of his schoolmates after class in the locker room. Why are all these guys walking past me in the shower looking at me funny? He asked a white classmate after PE. Andy, I don't think you believe me if I told you. He said, believe what? This classmate said, they've been told that black people come from monkeys, and they want to see if you've got a tail. In addition to being ogled and subjected to horrific rumors and speculation, the Norfolk 17 were spit at, cursed at, belittled, and ostracized, all in the name of seeking the opportunity to obtain an education just like their white counterparts. In the face of mass resistance laws, disrespect, violence, blatant hatred, the Norfolk 17 were peaceful, humble, resilient, courageous, articulate, and meek all at the same time. Teenagers who bravely endured these heinous obscenities to receive an education just like that of the white students, just so they could enjoy better or prosperous lives. I doubt that I would have had the internal fortitude to do that at that age, and I wonder how many of us can honestly say we could have put up with that ourselves. And yet, these 17 rose to meet the challenge. This September will mark 60 years since the Virginia General Assembly declined to support integration, instead adopting laws designed to fight desegregation. 60 years might seem like an eternity to some, but to others it can feel like just yesterday. Each day, thousands of students walk through the doors of schools in all localities all around Virginia and do not have to face the fear, uncertainty, and intense scrutiny like those of generations past. Let us not forget where we have come from as we continue to chart our course forward, and let us remember the Norfolk 17 and their contributions to our Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.